Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play HOI4 Kaiserreich against the French Republic. Last time, there's been a coup in the government. Charles de Gaulle has taken control of the government, but yet, he hasn't solidified power. Not quite yet. Yeah, we want to get radio next, please and thank you. Yunnan cliques fall in the Civil War. Been there, done that. The Niger Railroad strike. They'll come back to work eventually. Let's not worry about them. Also, do I have a field marshal? Not quite yet. The National Assembly gives full powers to the government of the Republic under the authority of Charles de Gaulle to proclamate by one or more acts a new constitution of the French state. By this simple motion, adopted unanimously, the destiny of France has been changed for the better. Everywhere the enemy of France still lurked, and Charles de Gaulle, finally given the tools to save France, continued to work already started to cleanse the nation. Everywhere he looked, more and more evidence of the incredibly deep rot affecting the Republic came to light. Tasked with saving France, the general has come to a simple conclusion, that today he exposed in a speech in front of the Senate. Trusted with the arduous task of guiding the nation in this hazardous time, I put my party above all. Above my personal feelings, above petty convictions, above divisions. As such, I have come to the conclusion that the system born of the fires of revolution cannot extinguish the fires of another, and that any constitution my government could put together couldn't be enough to ensure the safety and future of our nation. As such, as Chief of the State of the French Republic, with the powers granted to me by the people, I hereby declare that to ensure the salvation of France, we should look towards the fundamental laws. The laws that govern our nation and made her glorious since the time immemorial. The laws of the kingdom. As such, for the good of France and her people, I, as a subject, I hereby humbly ask Monsieur Duc de Guise, heir to 40 kings who over millennia have made France, to seize the crown and guide us towards resurrection, the renewal of France. Truth is, no one was surprised by the speech, neither the parliamentarians nor the people. General de Gaulle's sympathies for the monarchy and the royalist Action Française were no secret. And forces loyal to the regime and Action Française in the media, the church and armed forces, worked tirelessly to cement the idea of restoration of public consciousness. The defeat of the revolution had already severely damaged the image of the Republic. Recent events made sure that few still truly attached to her. The senators gave de Gaulle a long-standing ovation, named him lieutenant governor of the reborn kingdom. Regent, in other words, were voting to dissolve the legislative chambers. The Republic has died a violent death, but few will mourn her. So, where is this tree? You're now down here? Ah, my radio bonus, you piece of shit! So I'm guessing... Yeah, we can't actually do any of these quite yet. I guess we'll reform the code of the indigenous. Okay then. Well, again, this wasn't really my my initial plan going into this, because this is actually, I think, basically the same route we did last time. But, you know, here we are. The Men in Green. The Communists have announced a program to transform culture and entertainment. The so-called International Avant-Garde, of radical artists aiming to tear down all that is beautiful in this world and transform it to fit the taste of madmen. All in the name of making art more palatable to the proletariat. Put it simply, they aim to do nothing less than destroy French culture. In a manifesto, it professed a need to abolish the canons of French literature and poetry, as well as to radically transform the rules of French grammar, decried as antiquated and bourgeois. To protest this crime against taste, culture, beauty, and frankly civilization itself, the men of various academies in the Institute of France have assembled in the Common Congress to produce a counter-manifesto. All clad in the green trim formal attire, complete with personalized ornate swords and bicorns? The 472 members of the Institute have signed a common appeals to the world to undermine the efforts of these perverts and bohemians, and penned a manifesto in which they call for the creation of an International Institute of Occident to fight the vanguard of inculture. This initiative has received wide acclaim from France and among the Entente allies, as well as from the German sphere. As for the International Avant-Garde, it's responded by setting up an abstract statue representing bourgeois culture and classism made out of copies of the manifesto in front of the former location of the Institut de France in Paris. As the inauguration ceremony was underway, it was set ablaze by no lunatic Georges Bastille, a move that was applauded by many of the pure aristocratic spontaneously by the organization. Another reason to put down the commune. By the way, can I have some stability? Just like a wafer thin slice. Just a little bit of stability, I think, would be would really help me out right now. What are the goals modifiers? Oh, he's terrible. Plus 10 attack and defense on core territory? What the hell? So that's not good at all. But you have 10 more days until you are done. I mean, do we even get our modifiers from... No, I guess all the modifiers have disappeared. La Sacra. Sacra? More than 110 years since the last royal coronation, France finally has a king once again. The ceremony was carefully organized to follow as closely as possible to the Millennium Moments Protocol, despite taking place in St. Philippe Cathedral in Algiers instead of traditional coronation in Riem, which currently circumstances would make it difficult to organize. Much of the necessary ceremonial items, such as the sword Juas, said to have been the sword of Charlemagne, as well as the holy ampulla, glass vial holding anointing oil, said to have been given by the Holy Spirit for the baptism of Clovis, king of the Franks. It had been evacuated during a retreat to the mainland, and a new regalia was crafted by skilled artisans, particularly an ornate crown. After swearing oaths of the scriptures and to defend the church, maintain peace, fight injustice, and be merciful and just, as well as to fight heresy, John d'Orleans was anointed in 9 spots in the shape of a cross with holy oil by the Archbishop of Algiers. Then was draped in a blue cloak, sprinkled with gold fleur-de-lis, given in the scepter and a hand of justice, and finally crowned Peter's the reborn kingdom for fealty to his majesty. Then a mass was said. This done, the king and royal family headed out of their new residence, the former presidential palace in the heights of Algiers, cheered on the whole way by a numerous crowd. Public celebrations and banquets taking place well into the late hours of the night. Some important details were altered for the ceremony, however. The king did not swear the traditional oaths to fight infidels, and was instead given the multifaceted of Algiers, a traditional flash sword representing his new status of Haim de Islam, or protector of Islam. And among the peers swearing fealty to his majesty were numerous Arab, Berber, and African chiefs in their traditional costumes, symbol of a new era of French rule. So we're now the Kingdom of France. Again, this wasn't really my my initial intention. But I guess at this point, if you're watching the YouTube videos, it'll probably be labeled the Kingdom of France in the titles. But please do note that wasn't my initial intention here. Okay, so we've got our restoration now. Protective inequality, political power, stability, negative 10% stability. You know, let's go the eldest daughter of the church. Is that that's gotta be Oh, no, just France itself is the eldest daughter. I thought they were talking about Joan of Arc, but apparently not. Okay, this is the IEDC. Do I want to put any money into that? Okay, we'll do phase 2 of you. Right now, negative 5% stability. We've got Republican elements. Pretty bad for a political power gain, 0.61. Let's just take all of them. You know what? Let's just be as harsh as possible, because why not? The left, the radicals, and moderates were all prime suspects. From municipal councillors to members of the parliament, they had headed the guys for decades, failing France at every turn. Always pushing further for the destruction of the church, fanning the flames of socialism with their incompetence and demagogic promises. Those not already awaiting trial were arrested, interrogated, and sometimes made to give up names of fellow traitors, sometimes forced to confess to their treason. Special tribunals were created with the crowds gathering in every town to see who had betrayed them for so long, get what had long been coming. At last, the Pays Legal was tumbling. Trials were sometimes rushed, but most were given time to prepare their defense. With proper legal assistance provided, they could not afford one. Most were condemned to a ban of holding public offices, some were prison sentences, and a few the death penalty. While this is satisfactory for the government, some of the radical voices advocated for more expedited procedures to be dealt with such filth. Yeah, you know what? Let's just go as harsh as possible. Yeah, there we go. Firing squads for everybody. I don't care what if you were even a janitor in the offices of the liberals, you were getting shot. Okay. Next up, 22. Here comes the cops. As expected, it didn't take long for investigators to find problematic elements within the police force, with a few cases of what appears to be revolutionary cells forming up. Thankfully, they were caught in time, and these policemen were persuaded by fellow officers, intelligence service, and Camelots who happened to assist questioning sessions to give up any co-conspirators who had slipped through the cracks. Some who had survived the last parade were particularly strongly advised to indicate whether their treason on that fateful day was spontaneous or premeditated. For good measure, officers with known sympathies for Murdoch and democratic cause were interrogated, with sanctions being envisioned for them as well. You know what? Straight to the guillotine. To everyone. Do we have enough? Oh, we already have a spy agency. Fantastic. It seems that though much of the army still in Murdoch in his opposition to the Marshal's more fanciful use of information against perceived traitors, even of the men that close to be action Francais, most were in the end much as sympathetic to the democratic cause that one would have feared. Or at least that is what some of those interrogated by Marshal Court assured us. Perhaps cowed by Murdoch's ultimate fate. In any case, though some will have been shot, at the very least was set of an example. Most of the men interrogated could be reintegrated within the ranks of the most without much penalty. The core of Murdoch's clique was blown apart along with their leader, and unified opposition of the armed forces seems unlikely. Firing squads await them, absolutely. Those who slither in the dark. The investigation revealed a worrying state of affairs. The mole was found relatively quickly by men personally loyal to the Gaulle, and double agents have been extracting a trove of information from him. It seems that a large part of the Bureau was sympathetic to Murdoch, and though they have dutifully helped us purge other elements of society, they've also been carefully hidden proof that some of them were in contact with their enemies, even going so far as destroying seized evidence. We must, however, tread carefully. These are all incredibly talented men, and our investigations seem to show that they acted more loyally to each other than to any deep ideological commitment. The Rooster, personally close to some of these men in the Bureau, seem to think that simply court-circling the mole, feeding him inaccurate information for us to share with the planted contacts, and letting the Bureau remain intact will be sufficient. After all, there are few open Republicans left. Sacrificing valuable assets to fight shadows would seem like a waste. Others argue that the Bureau cannot be trusted, and that as such it should be disbanded and replaced, with much less trustworthy members assigned to posts far into the Saharan desert. Finally, simply being rid of all of them might be the easiest choice. Thorough purge, absolutely. Get rid of every single one of them. And once we get 25 political power, by God, we're going to humiliate these Republicans. And by humiliate, I don't even know what we'll do. Whatever the worst option is, which usually is the bottom there. But if we're going to go all out, my God, we're going to go all out on this. Integral humanism, temporal and spiritual problems of a new Christianity. The recent public work of influential Catholic philosopher Jacques Maritain has caused passionate debate among Catholics. A convert from Protestantism, once close to the Action Francais, is by not being a monarchist, mostly their suspicion towards representative democracy and opposition to the anti-clerical policies of the Third Republic. Maritain has drifted after the shock of the exile towards moderate positions, close to his personalist movement, Christian democracy. Rejecting both reaction liberalism, secular and integralist political Catholicism, embracing humanism, arguing for human rights, the importance of family, pluralistic democracy, and responsibility towards the common good, all in the spirit of social teaching of the Church. The philosopher is somewhat going against the grain. Indeed, much of the French Catholic laity and hierarchy has been radicalized by the current situation. The AEF has even denounced integral humanism as a work of a traitor, a sellout to democratism, a red saboteur. However, among the progressive Catholics, Martien's work is very well received, getting praise from Father Montani, a close advisor of the Pope, and with some moderates even being drawn away from Action Francais, heeding his warning that the movement is merely used of the faith as a tool to further its political ideology. Ah, we wouldn't do that. What are you talking about? Okay. Humiliate them. Camelot's knocking down the doors of prominent Republican intellectuals, journalists, public personalities, and taking them to the public square. Sometimes dragging, sometimes at gunpoint. These men are then getting on their knees and renounce their traitorous beliefs, apologizing for the masses of well-rehearsed public apologies. Sometimes manhandled, either by the actions men or the crowd, and then sent on their way, back home or to obscurity, knowing full well their writings, their speeches will never be heard again by the people. This has been a common sight, and the crowd seems ever more eager to pin their troubles on these traitors. Kaiserreich is more bloodthirsty than the most fanatical of the Camelots de Roy, and have been having to be held back from tearing them apart. Remain loyal, let the crowd do as it pleases. Yeah, let's deliver more people to the crowd. I wonder if we do all of this, it'll give us another idea depending on our choices. What if it gives us like a horrible like stability modifier? That'd be kind of funny. And I honestly wouldn't even be like too surprised by it, to be completely honest with you. By the way, resistance, how is that going, by the way? Is it okay? You know what? It's actually going down. The people love it. They're like, mass executions? Fuck yes. That's what I signed up for you today. Okay, next up, let's go for classicism. 8% research speed. Let's go protective inequality for a little bit of political power. Following our victory against Murdoch and his supporters, it has come to our attention that our intelligence services, the Second Bureau, has been compromised by pro-Murdoch elements. Following a secret investigation by Donnecourt and his group, Ep.4 coup, we have identified an agent within our Second Bureau, named the Calvish Network, led by a nationalist Colonel George Grossard. Despite his former allegiance to the democratic forces, he is still a good communard-hating Frenchman, and it would be a shame to let these skills go to waste. Can we send him to the commune, where he will fight the communard scum, while being unable to represent a threat to our regime? Or just say the word, and Donnecourt will be taking care of him once and for all. So we get 1 extra operative slot. Nope! We're going all out. 50 political power, more stability, shoot him in the face. But I think with the, a lot of executions in the Kingdom of France, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you have been enjoying, I'd love if you would thumbs up. If you've been hating it and you dislike me personally, leave a thumbs down. Let me know in the comments. But if you want to see more, subscribe. Have a great day, and goodbye.